Okay, I'm live. Okay, let's see. So this is a new video I'm making, and I'm calling it Geula Here and Now. Word is born. In the last video I made, just wanted to note that I made a mistake, and I'm not sure how to edit the live videos yet. So I figured I'd just correct the mistake in this video. So I will correct the mistake here. I meant to say, since Yetziat Mitzrayim, Jews can never again be slaves. So ever since we had Yetziat Mitzrayim, Jews can never again be slaves under any nation or controlled by any nation. Jews must forever be free. It is impossible for us to be slaves. Instead, I said in the past video, I made a mistake, and I said that Jews can never be free, or perhaps that was a Freudian slip or something, or what. I just wanted to correct that. What I meant to say is Jews will forever be free, and that, as we say in our morning brachas, thank you, Hashem, for not making me a slave. And now that I've corrected that, I wanted to also say that since I'm a beginner or even a pre-beginner at my Torah studies, I may make a number of mistakes in my understanding of what I say or how I come across. I may make a mistake, so please forgive me. I am a novice at this. I'm just a beginner, and I do not portray myself as any kind of expert or anything. I'm just giving over my limited knowledge on these subjects that I've studied thus far, and I'm doing it mostly in the spirit of see one, do one, teach one. That you study, and then by teaching, giving over what I have learned, in the hopes of reinforcing what I've learned for myself, repeating it, and reinforcing what I've learned for myself, and perhaps adding some small insights and understanding to others here listening to my video. Okay, and this is so I am not here to convince anyone that Mashiach is here. This is a decision and conclusion each person must make on his or her own. It is a very personal and decision, and it's a unique decision to each person, and it's a conclusion that for each individual Jew has to make on his own about Mashiach. And I believe that by studying the Sichos of the Rebbe from 1992 onward, the early 1990s of the Sichos of the Rebbe, mostly 1991, 1992, we can see that Mashiach came at that time, and it is a process. It is a daily process of agreeing with this conclusion and creating Mashiach awareness and consciousness within oneself. And also, I've also learned that this consciousness, this thought in the head, in the mind, sends out this consciousness. So one person's thoughts can influence the world in a certain way. This the thoughts of one's consciousness goes out, and this magnetic field or aura surrounding the human brain goes out. And an example of this I've heard is that after September 11th, after the events of September 11th, and after large amount of people watched the events that happened that day on TV, on the news, there was a change in the magnetic field surrounding the Earth. So it was a measurable electrical magnetic field that there was a change due to this collective consciousness of this feeling that humans across the world felt after they witnessed the attacks of September 11th. So because of the collective feeling of the human connection and the events surrounding September 11th, the human thoughts and the feelings went out, and it actually was measurable, and the magnetic field around the Earth was affected by these thought patterns going out. So human thought and feelings are interconnected and measurable. When one does a mitzvah, for example, a good deed, his aura changes. The actual the aura, the field around the person changes. You can also say one good deed begets another good deed. So by changing the thoughts that go out, by changing my own thoughts, it influences the world and the magnetic and electrical fields. It's measurable by the magnetic and electrical fields as emanations effect on other people. So if enough people think these thoughts and have these feelings and emotions, we can tip the scales and increase the collective consciousness of Mashiach and the ultimate redemption. Now, many Jews are still waiting for Mashiach to arrive at some future point in time. So you'll hear that many Jews are still waiting for Mashiach to arrive at some time. However, I prefer to see that the glass is half full rather than half empty. No longer do we have to await and suffer and await Mashiach and repent and do tshuva and somehow if enough people to do tshuva, Mashiach will come. We don't have to suffer and wait for the time is now. The Rebbe stated clearly that Mashiach is here, and I wonder why are his words ignored or simply glossed over? So one could ask, is it politically correct to say that Mashiach is here? Is there something that's not politically correct to say Mashiach is here, and that's why so many people avoid saying that it's evident, it's here now, and all we have to do is just believe. But MS, truth, is permanent and it's indestructible. So the truth is permanent and indestructible, and that is what I believe. And there's really no need to spread the word of Mashiach. There's no need to try to convince people or spread the word of Mashiach, because all that is actually needed is one stubborn Jew who believes. That's what the Rebbe said, that it only takes one stiff-necked person, a stubborn Jew. If it is a small group of Jews, 3, 2, even one person, that is fine. But each Jew must make up his own mind about Mashiach. So what we could also say is that man's capability of understanding is limited, i.e., for example, you have your ears, your eyes, you have your organs of the five senses. So these five senses of the human being can only take in so much information to the brain. So we're only capable of taking in so much information to the brain with our limited amount of senses, so there exists so much that might not be relayed to the brain. So we have to be open to the fact, open-minded and willing to understand that what we know is limited and limited to what we can take in, and thus the human consciousness is limited, as physiologically we can only input so much into our brain. And God's wisdom and God's Torah are infinite. Man's wisdom is limited, while God's wisdom is infinite. So this is only a earthly body and a limited mind, and by studying Torah, we could increase this capacity, but overall, it's just a limited. So we have to be open-minded to this revelation. So also slavery in Egypt, the actual slavery of the Jews in Egypt made us a stronger nation, as like resistance or weight training makes your muscles stronger. The bondage and the servitude in Egypt made us a stronger nation. And God promised to our forefathers that we would inherit the world. He promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that we would inherit the world, but also we saw that we were slaves in Egypt. So that seems like a contradiction. How can we inherit the world if we're slaves in Egypt? So the Avos and Moshe, this is getting into the what I've learned today. The Avos and Moshe have something in common, which is they both have the same spirit, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But the breath of life is like blowing the shofar of Mashiach, the getting in touch and becoming aware of your own breath, and the pause, and becoming aware of your own breath is like becoming aware of the blowing of the shofar of Mashiach. So the pause from of becoming aware of your own breath, you go from a limited consciousness to a wider self-awareness, a self-consciousness, and you're able to see the details of creation. So you have the fragmentation of God's consciousness, and you don't see in the totality. It's not the totality. So it creates a distortion of God's being. So the breath helps in gaining more understanding of godliness, and the Avos, the forefathers, represented the previous worlds. Abraham representing Chesed, Yitzchak representing Gevura, Yaakov representing Tiferet, and further on the Midos. So the Avos, the forefathers, is the root and core of all the souls of Israel. They're at the root and core of all the souls of Israel. In them, in the Avos and Moshe is something that unique that the children of Israel don't have. So why does Moshe question question God? The Avos, the forefathers, never questioned God. They didn't question God, but Moses questioned God. So Moses said, "Why did you wrong the people through this slavery in Egypt and the servitude in Egypt?" So also the giving of the Torah. At the giving of the Torah, an elevation took place. And it's not revealed to the Avos, the forefathers, because the Torah wasn't given yet to the forefathers. It was given at Matan Torah, which is later. So also we could say that if everything in time is a continuum, everything is happening in creation all at once. Mashiach is now. Mashiach is here and is now, and it's a for everlasting truth, and it's revealed. So I see it as something that is permanent and indestructible truth. Okay, there is nothing but God, and we learned about the mitzvah, the bris milah, the circumcision. This had an influence on the entire world. The mitzvah of bris milah had an influence on the entire world, and it acted like a doorway, an opening, a holy vibration. By this Abraham's bris milah. So he also said, "Put your hand on my thigh and swear to it," like putting your hand on the Bible and swearing to the Bible. You put your hand on your thigh, and he swears on the bris milah on the thigh, and which brings down heaven down to earth. This mitzvah. The mitzvahs are an action, a physical action that we could do to know God. The Torah and the mitzvahs. It helps us in knowing God, and the mitzvahs are like a meditation in motion or an action that we can actually gain a higher awareness of God, even though divine light is unfathomable and infinite. Somehow through the Torah and mitzvahs, we could bring that down to the physical world and understand it with our bodies. So you have the Yud Hey Vav Hey, which is the Chachma and the Bina, which is the upper worlds, which is fear or love, and from the thought was created the desire to take action. So as we have the thought, we create the desire to take action. The Vav of the Yud Hey Vav Hey represents the emotions, attributes of the soul, and the Hey, the final Hey, is the Malchut, the manifestation of thoughts and emotions, the Malchuts. The manifestations of the thought and emotions. So you have the world above and the world below, and you're drawing down God's name into the world. So this Yud Hey Vav Hey draws God's name down into the world, and the potential. You have the potential and the revealed at Matan Torah, and the giving of the Torah, and Avraham had this this potential revealed, this godly potential revealed via his bris milah, the circumcision, and it brought down God's name into the world. So, today, there is no more suffering. There is no more struggle to be a Jew, to be proud of being Jewish, to study Torah, to go to your synagogue, to go to your yeshiva, to go to Chavrusa and to study Torah, and to, we're no longer in Gullus. We're in Geula, and it's evident. It's a fact, and this is what I believe. And there's no need to spread it or to convince people, because it only takes one person for the word to go out and the vibration to go out. And that's all I have written for today. And I didn't want to make this too long. That's 16 minutes. So I think that's enough for today. And thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And have a good night. Happy New Year. It's 9:04 p.m. on in North Miami Beach here in Florida. And it's December 31st, 2018. And this is Eric, Natan, Reuven, Levine, signing off on YouTube. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.